Um, Definitely. I mean, I think there's times where it's been helpful as a woman to come in and again, you can sort of speak from your own personal experience. And I think that, I think a lot of times, especially again in policy work, where there are more and more women that are working in that field versus women maybe historically haven't been at the table for policy work. But I think coming as a woman, you definitely have there's a different reaction, there's a different exchange, being a woman in a room full of men. And so it's definitely something that I think can be used to your advantage, and to again, those nuances that maybe someone else might not pick up on, or I think stuff women that we're intuitively we might know something differently might give us an edge over someone maybe that doesn't have that. So I'm sure there's been times that I have benefited and probably didn't even realize it or recognize it, or there was some sort of favor and I just moved past it because I was like, all right, we got to get this done, we got to keep going. But I know there's probably been those opportunities, I'm sure. I have, and I think it's I really have, and I think especially given our political climate and over the last several months, I've really noticed that women are more vocal, and I think are more comfortable being vocal with concerns and questions and fears. And I think that has, I've just seen more of that in the last little bit. I think I've always been very fortunate, again, because I've worked in the nonprofit sector and I've always seen women in leadership roles, but I am seeing more and more now that that's being acknowledged and recognized, that these are women that are in leadership roles, they have a national or a state platform to talk about the work that they're doing. So I think the work has sort of always been there. I just don't think, like you said, I don't think it's been recognized. Like there hasn't necessarily been the attention drawn to it. Like that these are women that are working really hard, but they're probably working behind the scenes and nobody ever knew that was happening. And I think there's a long history to that too. But I think now we're starting to see just more of a presence, a visual presence. I think social media has helped with that a lot. I really do that there are platforms for people to speak and be heard and talk about what's important to them. And I think, women are, I think by nature, networkers, and we're going to connect with people and we want to bring on people and talk about, what is it that we can do and how can we work together. So I think women have leveraged that and really used that to their advantage, and that's helped. And I think we'll continue to see more of that, again, just sort of based on where our political climate is right now and all the challenges that lay ahead of us.
Oh gosh,
yes, there are a lot of them. I always think about Stacy McPhail, who was my field supervisor, and she was for grad school, and she was always just so encouraging to me, and she was really, I think her leadership style and the way she carried herself as a supervisor, I find I've really adopted a lot of those ways that she went about doing business, just finding opportunities within people and really cultivating that, just spending time to, all right, let's just talk about this, let's talk this through, let's figure this out, just always encouraging. I mean, again, I think about her all the time and just the difference that she made in my life now, and especially as a field supervisor, looking at the grad students that I'm working with and just thinking like, how would she do that? What would she do differently? Or, how would she approach the situation? So she's one that always stands out to me. Maggie Michael is another. She works for the Children's Hospital Collaborative, and she's been doing policy work for a long time, and she was one of the first people that I really got to know well in this work, and she has such tenacity, and she just goes, and I really don't know how she does it, but I've learned a lot from her, and just terms of how to do policy work, how to, continue forward when things are really, challenging and things aren't going to work out the way we think it's going to work out, and how to, use that to our advantage. And so I really relied on her heavily when I first started out, especially in this role. And there's so much, again, of her and just how she just is as a force and just able to get stuff done that just amazes me. And so there's countless women like that either I've known or currently work with that every day just, I know that their confidence, I can, go to them with, whatever is challenging me. I know that they'll hold me accountable to the work too, which is important, not just to be a sounding board, but to really hold somebody accountable to the work, and that they'll encourage me like, yeah, this is really crappy right now, but it does get better and it will get better. So just stick it out and, or give yourself a break, like give yourself some time to rest, and that's okay. But just pick back up, where you left off. So, no, nothing that they have shared. But if I were to give a piece of advice especially to women that are, whether or not they're in policy work, whether or not they work in a nonprofit, I think there is a feeling of, we really have to prove ourselves and we have to do everything right all the time. And there's a lot of pressure that we put on ourselves for that. At least I did as a young professional, and sometimes still do. I mean, there's a lot of wisdom that comes with, getting, along in your career, that you don't worry about that so much. But some of the best advice I heard, and unfortunately I can't give the source because I can't remember, but it was really, so I'll just say I said it, no. Is if you're going to make a mistake, just go ahead and make a mistake. Just make all the mistakes that you can. Just do it as quickly as you can and then move on. Like, mistakes are going to happen. Just own it and move on, and don't worry so much about the falling, but about the getting back up. Like, it's going to happen, and you're probably going to feel pretty crummy, but you're going to learn a lot from it, and everybody does it, and it's okay to do that, and to really talk openly and honestly about what went wrong, and have that, have a person in your life that you can do that with, and just learn from it. So make all the mistakes you need to make until you figure out the best way to do it, and don't worry what other people may say or what they might think, but you're getting better and you're growing, and that's ultimately what's the most important. So there's a group of students at Columbia College, and they always are a friend of mine for me, and I've done this now for 3 semesters. Dr. Joyce Fields is an amazing professor over there, and she approached me a couple of years ago and said, I had this idea to do an advocacy class, but I don't quite know how I want to structure it. Would you be interested in helping me? And I was like, sure, because let's do one more thing. That sounds good. And so I said, yeah, I'm really intrigued by that. I love students and I love working with them, so I'm really curious about what this might look like. So she got a group of students together, and it was just like 8 or so seniors that were working in child and family studies, and were doing an advocacy class. And so she said, well, part of this class is going to be them at the State House. So they're going to go to the State House, they're going to meet with their legislators, they're going to either write legislation, or they're going to follow legislation or research it. So I need you to help them get acclimated. And I said, okay, that's no problem. And of course, all of them are terrified at the thought of going to the State House, and they're they have 1,000 questions about everything from where do I park, to what do I wear, to what do I say. And so that was really eye-opening to me, for someone being in this work where it's this is just what you do. You just jump in and you just do it. But to someone in a very different perspective, it is overwhelming and it can be very intimidating. And so I saw so much growth from them. And again, this is now the 3rd time that I've done it, from the beginning of the semester to the end. I mean, students that were I am about in tears because I don't think I can do this, to at the end of the semester, I've talked to this legislator, I've talked to this legislator, I've done this fact sheet, I've, done all these really cool, awesome things. And to me, that is such a feeling of satisfaction that I was able to be a part of that, and to help them navigate that and get over that. And I feel that's an impact that will last them forever. And many of them have said to me, after the fact, I'm still involved, or even after they graduate and have moved on, I'm still doing stuff in policy, I'm still really involved, or I want to now find a job doing this. And so that is awesome. So I think that's, to me, the biggest satisfaction, and just something that I'll always be really honored to be a part of.